Baldur's Gate, there are two schools of thought for combat encounters. The first school is tactical, methodical, stealthy. The second school, not so much. But for either type of player, you may have accidentally pressed the C key, and for those people, this is everything you need to know about stealth. Whether you play lone wolf or with friends, it's important that you at least know the concept of subtlety. Stealth is ridiculously strong. Even if you have negative dexterity, you can pull off stealthing behind an overpowered enemy and dealing half their HP before they even get a chance to breathe. It gives several bonuses including advantage, surprise rounds, and evasion, not counting the good stealth-based equipment especially found in Act 2, or any class bonuses you have. I'll address all these bonuses in the next section, but firstly I want to address the application. Stealth is a dexterity-based skill which the following backgrounds and races have bonuses to. The way stealthing works is given a location, the game checks for your light level. If you're in a clear area and enter an enemy sightline, you're spotted immediately. If lightly obscured, you'll need to make a stealth saving throw and an additional saving throw for each round you stay in vision. The DC for this is dependent on that creature's perception. If the enemy has dark vision, instead of being lightly obscured, it will be counted as being in a clear area, and for being heavily obscured, it will be treated as a lightly obscured area. Being heavily obscured, you'll never be detected unless you get too close to the creature, so long as they don't have dark vision, of course. You can achieve being heavily obscured through the Fog Cloud or Darkness spell. Most of Act 2 is considered darkness, but I wouldn't recommend going without a light source. If you're ever struggling to tell, holding left shift will show you the light level in an area. Congratulations, you're now hidden. What does this mean for you? Well, you can now move around really slowly, but on the bright side, you won't attract any attention unless you walk into a sightline of an enemy as previously mentioned. You can view these sightlines while holding down shift, which I highly recommend if you're sneaking around. I'm a huge advocate for minor illusions, and stealth-wise, you can use them to manipulate enemy sightlines. It's tricky to do live, so be sure to enter turn-based mode. Now, if you want to get the jump on an enemy, you'll gain advantage for being hidden. On top of this benefit, you can get a surprise round on enemies. I've heard tons of confusion on surprise rounds, but here's the breakdown. If you attack an enemy from outside their sight range while hidden, you'll get a surprise round. If you're within vision when the attack goes off, it'll be a normal attack and no surprise round. Additionally, if the enemy has alert, they will not be surprised. A surprise round is one whole round that you can take before any enemies. Surprise rounds can be iffy with a large party though, but the best way I found is to have one player initiate combat and then have everyone else join in. After everyone's turns are up, combat turn order will progress as normal, and you will hopefully have killed an enemy or two by then. If things are turning poorly in combat, you can sneak away as long as you're out of an enemy's sight. The enemy will go to your last known position, represented by this transparent outline, and it will detect hidden presence, which as long as you're not nearby, will remove you from combat. If you were nearby, or for example invisible, it would roll a stealth check versus perception check as if you were hiding. Speaking of invisibility, there are two types to consider, normal and greater. Invisibility acts as automatically hiding, enemies can't see or attack you, and will investigate where you became invisible. The only difference between the two spells is that with greater invisibility, you can attack and interact with the environment without your invisibility breaking. This comes with an increasing stealth DC every time you make a check, starting at 15, jumping to 17, and then increasing by 1 each time after. Honestly, regular invisibility is fine, since it's much better to attack and then go invisible to avoid retaliation, though attacking from invisibility gives advantage, so all shots from greater invisibility would gain this benefit. Potions of invisibility are great to have on hand, at least one per party member as a contingency, though if you can afford this luxury, you can throw invisibility potions on your allies. Enemies will go to investigate their location still, and the ally will need to succeed on the before mentioned check. And if you're anything like me, you'll fail it. But if you don't want to be like me, let's look at some equipment you can wear to increase your stealth. The absolute best piece I can recommend is the Graceful Cloth sold by Lady Esther in the Mountain Pass, giving you +2 to your dex score and advantage on all dexterity checks, which includes stealth. Obviously best if you don't care about unarmored defense or don't have any proficiencies. If you don't have unarmored defense and care about your AC, I'd recommend the Spider Silk armor in Act 1 dropped by Minthara, and later on you can get the Dark Justicar half-plate. Early on is also a nice ring giving +2 to stealth and sleight of hand at the cost of 1 charisma. Equipping this when you need to can go a long way. In Act 2 you can get a ring that lets you cast Pass Without Trace, which is a level 2 spell giving you and nearby allies +10 to your stealth checks. Frankly, I just prefer invisibility, so pick up some rings that give that. Or if you want to just break the game, play the Dark Urge to get your unique cloak, which gives stealth after every kill. You can basically just stay invisible the whole fight. Though if you truly never want to be detected, you'll need to embrace the darkness. Darkness in combat causes creatures inside to be blind and heavily obscured, meaning there's two ways you can use it. Cast it to make enemies blind, or to hide yourself. Once again, this will let you be heavily obscured, letting you hide from creatures without dark vision. Now to capitalize on these concepts, you'll need blind immunity. Regrettably, the only sources are from Act 2 and onwards, but these sources are the Eversight Ring, Hail Dusk Helmet, Steel Watcher Helmet, and undeniably the best tool in your arsenal, Shar's Spear of Evening. This spear gives you blind immunity, advantage on saving throws when obscured, dealing additional damage to enemies that are obscured, a free darkness spell, and a unique attack, Edge of Darkness, which does AoE damage and creates a source of darkness. Trust me, you'll want this thing, but it will cost you, as it can only be obtained by performing certain actions in Act 2, which I'll allow you to research if you're interested to avoid any spoilers. To embrace the shadows fully, we'll also want gear that buffs us when obscured, and for that I recommend the Dark Justicar's helmet and the Ring of Twilight. Now then, we've got a broken stealth build, but we can go beyond. There are tons of class and race-based actions pertaining to stealth, so be sure to correct me if I miss one, but I should be able to at least address the big ones. We'll get the race bonuses out of the way firstly. If you take Drow, you'll get superior dark vision and be able to cast darkness at level 5. Any race that gives dark vision will be a good choice, as attacking an enemy in darkness gives disadvantage, which applies to magical darkness. Other classes that give superior dark vision are the Dwergar and the Deep Gnome. You can get regular dark vision from picking the Elf, Tiefling, Dwarf, Half-Elf, Forest Gnome, Rock Gnome, or Half-Orc. The only difference between superior and regular dark vision is the range is doubled. Some items and potions give dark vision too, but I'm getting sidetracked. Dwergar are one of the better races you can be stealth-wise, since you get cantrip invisibility, letting you cast it infinitely outside combat, and once inside combat. Deep Gnomes get superior dark vision and advantage on stealth checks, which are definitely things you want to look out for. Asmodeus Tieflings get darkness for free at level 5, and Githyanki have astral knowledge, which can give them dexterity proficiency, as well as Misty Step at level 5. Something to not be understated as well is they can cast invisible mage hands, which can be useful for preparing a combat. Now let's go through the classes. Most classes have a little something, but you should be able to tell which the big ones are. Barbarian doesn't have much, but they can get dark vision as a wild type barbarian with their eagle animal aspect. Clerics technically have a bonus in knowledge domain, since you can gain a proficiency in dexterity with your channeled divinity, similarly to the Githyanki. Trickery domain has the real meat though. You can grant a creature a blessing, giving them advantage on stealth, summon illusions to distract enemies, learn Pass Without Trace, and become invisible if obscured. Monks can get the Way of the Shadow, giving tons of bonuses: Minor Illusion, Bonus Action Hiding, Pass Without Trace, Darkness, Dark Vision, Invisibility when obscured, Shadow Step, and Shadow Strike, which lets you teleport behind enemies from the shadows and deal extra damage. This is one of the main ones I'd recommend if you're going for a stealth-specific build. And in that regard, the second I would recommend is Gloomstalker Ranger. This gives you superior dark vision, hiding when obscured, bonus action hiding, and Misty Step. Gloomstalkers really benefit from attacking from the shadows and killing the enemies before they even know what happened. Rogues in general have very nice bonuses for being stealthy as you'd expect, but I'll just address the subclasses. Any rogue subclass will help. Thief granting invisibility and just being generally good. Arcane Trickster gives invisible mage hands like the Githyanki and can learn some darkness spells. My favorite has to be Assassin. Pertaining to the surprise round gameplay, you get a refill on all of your actions at the start of combat, automatically crit surprised creatures, and have advantage against creatures who haven't had a turn. This whole subclass is based around the stealth system, so make good use of it. Sorcerers, wizards, and warlocks don't necessarily have any stealth-based subclasses, but they are spellcasters, so you can pick up darkness and the likes. That's all I got. Be sure to tell me off in the comments if I missed anything egregious, which I'm sure I did, but I hope the information helps those looking to stealth their way through the game.